to mainstream newspapers. So my project, both this paper and my dissertation, are about newspapers' roles in urban life between 1880 and 1930. So a period of rapid urbanization. And in this paper today, I'm looking at New York City, which ballooned in size and population. It went from about 1 million people in 1880 to over 7 million in 1930. It expanded from 23 square miles in just on the island of Manhattan to 330 square miles spread over 5 years. And as the city was expanding, it was also separating. This is the stratification that I'm talking about. So separating into wealthy and poor neighborhoods, into ethnic enclaves, into specialized commercial districts. And in such a stratified city, New Yorkers living in one area or one neighborhood might never meet New Yorkers living in some other kind of neighborhood. And it seemed to me that newspapers might have a crucial role to play in a city like this, where so many people would never encounter each other, or where New Yorkers would never visit the expanse of the city. So my question was, what part do newspapers play in holding this huge and stratified city together? And to answer it, I read mainstream daily newspapers over the span of 50 years. And I tried to pay attention to all the different parts of the paper. And so that meant looking at feature sections as well as the front page. So I read the sports pages, the women's page, the Sunday magazine, assuming that they could have shaped people's experience of urban life just as much as the front pages or the editorials. And what I found when I took this lens to New York newspapers is first that they used a variety of journalistic tactics to make the city feel notable and familiar and comprehensible. I also noticed, though, the darker vision of the darker vision of the city that surfaced in newspapers at that point. And finally, I found that these two kind of opposite strains, the familiar city and the darker city, were both teaching people about what it meant to be a city person, that they were working together to create a vision of work. So I'll start with ways that newspaper made the city feel knowable. So in a city where people could only talk to a handful of New Yorkers each day, they could only visit a fraction of the city, even in their lifetime, New York newspapers expanded readers' possible experiences. They could give readers a sense of being everywhere and of talking to everyone once. They did this by using a different style. Newspapers got much more narrative and descriptive around the late 19th century. So that articles didn't just tell people what happened, but they helped readers feel like they were really there. Like perhaps they had experienced what they are reading about. So for example, theater sections. They once just gave very brief commentary about shows. By the early 20th century, this is the 1901 New York World, you can see that they are very illustrative. And they not only show the actors and actresses, but they show them in scenes from the plays. So also the articles go into great detail about the plot, so that as you read the theater section, you can imagine these dramas playing out on stage. The sports section used to do something very similar. They start narrating boxing matches, every blow, and they print action shots so that readers could feel like they were sampling all of these entertainments available in the city. They had been at multiple shows. They'd been able to see multiple sports matches instead of just one. Another type of article, which I'm going to call travelogue, brought readers into places that they had probably never been to. So that could be a debutante ball that they were not invited to a poor neighborhood that they considered too dangerous to visit, to an immigrant club maybe that they just didn't know about. This is a 1904 feature where the reporter goes to a Viennese cabaret in New York and gives the reader a sense of what it's like, not just through the writing, but by showing the scene, by showing different people in the audience, the waiters, the performers. And features like this could transport readers to a new space in the city. We also see in newspapers at this time profile articles that introduce readers to neighbors that perhaps they've never met. This is from 1902. The reporter went and talked to men on park benches in front of City Hall. It tells us about their sort of life paths, their prospects in life. The artist sketches portraits of them, really showing them as individuals. And I think in a city where the rich did not necessarily feel comfortable striking out the conversation with the poor, or vice versa. Also in a city where strangers could just as easily be threatening as interesting, articles like this provided a safe and somewhat removed way for New Yorkers to feel like they knew their neighbors. News articles more pointedly built a sense of community in the city by featuring moments when New Yorkers helped each other. And this is often across class lines and across ethnic lines. Reporters would tell readers about butchers who gave away Christmas trees to poor people in the neighborhood, about witnesses at a scene of an accident who jumped in to help the victim. They wrote a lot of articles about more established charities, the YMCA, Fresh Air Fund. These articles together sketch New York as a community, as a place where people watch out for each other and help each other. The final way that newspapers rendered the city comprehensible was by helping readers visualize and map the city as a whole. One way you see this is reporters gave the exact address of almost every New Yorker that appears in the paper. And it often served no news purpose at all. We didn't need to know where this person lived. It wasn't relevant to the story. But it allowed readers to imagine those people in the physical city. I think these addresses impose an order on what could feel like sort of chaotic jumble of urban news and be a bit reassuring. Everybody and everything that appears in the paper has a place. It belongs somewhere. Images also help readers visualize and map the city. Real estate sections would picture buildings going up around the periphery of the city, so that even if readers had never been to Sunnyside, they had a rough sense of what Sunnyside looked like. Papers also printed bird's eye views, pictures taken from skyscrapers or airplanes, so that people could get an overview of the city that was hard to get as a pedestrian. And cross-sections revealed hidden parts of the city. This is a page from the New York World in 1909, showing New York's 7 levels of transit, and an 8th that they're imagining, which is the so you can see all the above levels kind of crisscrossing, and then they go underground and they show us 3 levels of trains. And what I think that illustrations like this do is they give readers a feeling that they know what's going on in the physical city, that even these spaces, like underground spaces that are invisible to them or inaccessible to them, they still have a sense of what's there. So I'm going to shift now from ways that papers made